All right. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, I'm gonna try and get started here. And I'm not seeing the chat. That's great. That is just great. All right. If anybody's already here, you'll have to bear with me. Still a noob. I'm gonna try and figure out. Well, send links out first of all. So bear with me, bear with me. I'm still slow and noobish at this. Why is nothing working? Bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. I'm trying to get things done. Sorry. Why is it not going to my channel? All right. At least that's good. Oh, hello, Mike, Alex. Hello, hi guys. Sorry it's taking me so long and I'm so slow about this. It's as I said, everything is not cooperating with me right now, especially YouTube. Hold on, guys. Guys, I'm so sorry it's taking forever. As I said, I am basically a noob at this. Yeah. And everything is super not cooperating. Okay, finally. One message out. Second message out. I hope. It seems like. Alright. Something is moving well. Hello, Arnon, Alex, Mike. Hello, hello, everybody. Give me a sec. I'm right about to get started. I'm trying to get everything sorted. Hello, hello, Ging. Gingde. Hello, hello. Give me a sec. I'm still getting stuff. I'm doing stuff. So, bear with me. You can stare at Tesla in the time being. The beautiful day we had today. Okay, I think I'm sort of done. Think. I hope. Okay, I think I'm sort of done. Right. Now just back to the chat, which here's the chat. Guys, by the way, the chat is a bit delayed. Found unable today. It's just market correction and every bear is zero. No, I mean it's look, it's the clickbait thing. It's I guess cooperating with the algorithm, I guess, because if I'm not gonna write crash today, so the thing is not gonna be offered to other people, nobody's gonna watch it, and why am I doing it then anyways altogether? But I mean, we are not 5%. If we really want to be specific, we're probably going to be looking for 5%. But screw that. It's not about 5%, which is like we're at 4.7, I think, or something like that altogether. Point being, just as I'm not biased when the market goes against me, I'm not going to be biased when the market goes the way I expect it to. So first of all, we have a hole here. We have a gap right here. This one, it's a hole. It still has not been filled. It's a bit worrying, but we're kind of far away from it right now. But what is worrying, that we're still relatively close enough to that gap for it potentially to want. I'm again doing it, right? Aren't I? Right? Right? I'm an idiot. You see? I got carried away and I forgot, and I'm an idiot. Here it is. Here's the screen. At least I noticed this time earlier. Thank you, guys. I am a moron. All right. Yeah, I am sharing screen. All right, so pardon me. All right, at least I'll know where I'm gonna cut. At least we all know where the video is gonna start when it's gonna be edited. Okay, so I'm not gonna be biased. As I said, I'm trying to avoid not be biased when the market goes against me, or I'm not gonna be biased when the market goes with my expectations. So first of all, we still have this gap on the top, which is somewhat problematic. It's literally near the all-time heights that 5667 call it, and let's call it roughly a 5614. But what is worrying is that these gaps are really close. So the price action being right here in essence, although we're still having the continuous contract continue for right now. Nothing surprising. The market is rather stable, kind of just correcting. Unsurprisingly so, we stopped at a pre-predicted level, this 2360. Some people know there is a structure to the market, that there is a reason for these supports and resistances, but let's not sidetrack with that. Bottom line is that this gap, as I often say, for example, again, if vice versa, the market is not going as I expect. And you say, look, guys, don't make any assumptions, nor don't expect the market to continue running in a particular direction. Look at gaps almost as a chore that was left behind, that the market will probably have to get back to. The thing with these particular chores, the gaps that are basically above us, well, they're not scary. In essence, we're not worried about them. Why? Because the natural direction of the market is upwards. At some point, the market will correct. At some point, these gaps will get closed. All right, so it's not a big deal. Sometimes we can find ourselves in a very weird circumstance, like for example today with SQQQ, by the way, those who are not familiar, where you basically have a gap on top of a gap. I'll tell you a little secret, it's not a coincidence, by the way, pardon me, why these sort of things happen the way they do. You can see this gap right here, right? You can see this gap right here. Okay, that's where you had a hole basically, opened up on the 20th, and now, bummer, isn't it? So just for you to know, this gap is not closed yet, and it is a bit problematic, but being detached the way we are right now, I'm suspecting, I know we're going to close it at some point. The question is when. But this is a bit abnormal. I'm just going to point out. It is a possibility. It's a normal thing that can happen. But that's just to sort of kind of show you the abnormalities and the rather unique instances where that does happen with the gaps. Bottom line is that market is often attracted, or as Tom likes to call it, magnetized to closing gaps. Is that there is still, considering how far the price action is, and sometimes it does happen, as I said, for example, if in this instance, if I'm bearish and the market keeps on going up, leaving a gap, saying, guys, well, it might take an hour or two, or sometimes even a day or two, all in all, we're probably going to get back and close that gap. So the same thing here. I cannot tell you that this gap is not going to get closed and we're not going to get a correction, a bullish correction, literally tomorrow, just sliding in, finishing this whole thing, bumping on the ceiling again and breaking back down. Rather, we will look at what potentially is going to happen, at least from my standpoint. I have predicted, those of you who don't know, I have about 12 or 13 days ago, the way it's going to appear right now on YouTube, I've made a video talking about how basically we hit a particular ceiling when it comes to Tesla. I showed these levels, the long-term resistances. I said this is going to be a key level between that 273 and 260. We're potentially going to get caught and start retracing. Now, the thing here is that although we did exactly as I said, we got caught up, we started retracing, we skipped over, and now we're below sort of the first resistance line. Does that mean that's it? We're going back down and, you know, everything is bearish, tremendously bearish, and is this sort of correction going to continue? We're going to look at that in a second. What I want to point out more so is that, again, you have in essence, this gap does not appear the way it is, okay, just to kind of point out how it really appears, right? It's because it's missing this price action. It's going to be adjusted later. It's missing the price action. I showed you this last week, that basically what happened in the pre and post market, this will be adjusted, right? It's going to be essentially engulfed within that daily candlestick. At the moment, this is why it appears as if there's a gap, but this is a pseudo gap, similar to what we had on the back end, although we still do have some holes here that need to get filled, and vice versa. This gap essentially is still a gap. Anything and everything that's going to be perceived as a, even on the daily, not on the daily, sorry, on the 4-hourly chart and amongst other smaller time frames, these, again, to some algorithmic or automated system, if you will be perceived as a whole, because some of the systems are designed and defined in such a way that they don't care about the pre and post market. So basically, they see it in such a way. They see it like this. So they basically, in essence, they do see a hole right here, and they see a hole right here. Let me try and make this a little bit cleaner, just a little bit. Okay, good. So, in my expectation, and as I said originally, it has a lot more to do. We have time. Can we do IWM? We can take a look at IWM, although it's going to be sort of redundant, because it's going to be redundant in essence because the indices do work in tandem. They do have some slight deviations. We spoke about this. I've shown this in the community a million times. By the way, shout out to Discord, to the Discord community. Those who are not from the Discord community or new here somehow, welcome, and I hope you know, you're going to enjoy the stream and all that. But there are links in the description below that will lead you to our Discord. There's a private, public, you know, 14,000 people there. So awesome place, awesome discussions, awesome topics. Let's get back to this. Yes, we can do IWM, but I'm not sure if, I mean, we might as well just look at the SPX, and you're pretty much going to get the same conclusions. Especially now, yes. So the IWM was delayed. The Russell was delayed for a couple of days there. You saw it on the small caps, and there was this feeling of a rotation, and I was sounding sort of, you know, my lack of confidence in that rotation. And I'm not saying, again, I'm not saying it's not true. There is no rotation. It's kind of debatable right now. It's really hard to determine. In my opinion, it is more by the rumor sell the news sort of situation. It's one of those situations where people bought into the idea, and in reality, you're seeing the market makers, the institutions actually dumping loads right now, just get rid of as much as they can while you're buying into it. So it's not as visible. It seems, in fact, as if there's more bullish momentum, but really it's kind of a give or take situation. Rotation happens when higher volume and the momentum IWM. I can see because of that stupid thing, but you're saying I have no such major volume increases. Yeah, that's true. People often ignore the volume, but you and I are going to talk about it quite a bit. You guys need to understand that volume actually does represent quite a bit in the market, and sort of what we can expect in what conditions. And right now, the volume is not representative of a proper rotation. Can check Nvidia. Yes, we will take a look at Nvidia. Nvidia, there's not really much to say. It's rather simple. Again, we're not going to look at the smaller time frames. In fact, let's do this right now, kind of thing, right? Let's look at the daily. This is the time frame that most people who are not experts but like to look at. You know, people who dabble, people who trade, short term, medium term, doesn't matter. Long term, doesn't matter really. But this is sort of the chosen time frame that people like to look at. if you're looking at the stochastic RSI that I'm trying to use to show you guys how things work, and so far as you've seen, it's sort of been quite indicative of things. And as you see, we went into oversold territory, hence we're getting a little bit more negative momentum, right? So nothing that we didn't expect, and I was saying that Nvidia will correct. And you see, again, this, if we look literally a while back, I was talking about it, how, and also mentioning about this about Tesla as well, that not every wave, people basically perceive the rhythm, if you will, this process of just up, down, up, down. No, the rhythm or the cycle of the market is not exactly as people perceive it, not just up, down. So as you can see, for example, a situation like this, that we never make it into the overbought territory, we start reversing back, basically bears become dominant, and we start breaking downwards. Subsequently, we're seeing this. But more so, I would say that, guys, it's the same problem that I've emphasized. Where's your accent from? Why does that matter? I'm like a mix of Russian speaking, Israeli, English, something in between. So like some weird amalgam. That's not important though. What we want to be looking at is the monthly, and in the monthly, we haven't even started yet. So there's a long way to go. Yes, we can dwell in these territories for a while, just the same way we did here. But at this point, we kind of squeeze the bejesus out of it. I'm not going to refer to the levels that they have, but it also is very indicative of what we would consider as a cycle. More so, people are looking at this number and forgetting, again, we split several times, okay? We just had a split. 10-1, which basically makes the stock look very just tiny in terms of its value, in terms of the stock value, right? No, the market cap. But you need to understand that now the damage that you're going to get backwards, people are very excited about, well, now I have more stock, right? But the damage is going to be felt pretty much as, according to that split, far more severe, if there will be any damage. For right now, if I would be focusing, sort of, if you'd ask me what levels to focus on, which I believe that's part of what you want to know, right now we already slipped below that 117.21 support, or which now is going to become resistance. There is high probability that we're going to break right now. So the next best support you want to rely on would be that 2360, which is 106.16. But I will tell you that this is not too much of a strong support. So if anything, I would be looking in particular when it comes to the monthly, and if I'm going to have a channel on the 3 months, yeah, sadly I'm not going to have it, but if we would have it, it's probably going to be slipping right above the 1 monthly, not far above. So I believe you should be looking to be more attentive to that 97.40, 100, which is psychological, inevitably going to be very strong. So in fact, you're going to have almost this like narrow area in which you're going to have rather strong support. But if to look out for the sort of longer duration perception, and I will get back to why I perceive this to be the next steps for the market, it has to do more with the indices, with the overall market conditions, and not with the individual assets. The individual assets, sadly, a lot of them reflect more bullish momentum, a lot of bullish sentiment, because it does depend what tools you use, what indicators you use, because at the end of the day, not everything reflects the change, that transition from that bullish momentum to bearish momentum very obviously. And you have to understand what it is that you're seeing on the smaller time frames, right? When you zoom out on that granular, in the minutia, so to speak, you can recognize this process of transitioning from being bullish to being bearish, from north to south, so to speak. And more so, by the way, this is all very indicative of that transition, right? You can see sort of these processes very often, and since we already started and we have 6 days to close this candlestick, this one is probably going to get closed as is, but we have to look and consider what the market is going to continue doing. Just to sort of give you the support and resistance, because we're already here, I would probably look at the juncture between that 261.80 and the general support I have here from the trend, right? So it's kind of probably this area that's going to be a strong support for you. I'm not sure for how long will it last, but considering the fact that we're looking here at the monthly chart, consider that this was 3 months. Basically, it was 3 months. Oh, Tesla is dropping even lower. Very interesting. Good to know. We're going to look at that in a second. So in my assessment, again, sort of looking at this, okay, looking at this, not even if the whole way through, I'm looking at this to be your actual support, which kind of makes sense. That's the trend, as I've mentioned, the juncture between the trend and one of your fib levels, a very major level, very strong as well. That's Nvidia. Did that answer your? Did that help you, Joker? I know it's not a lot because look. I'm not gonna break down every individual stock, and I'm not gonna sort of look at the minutia of every little thing, and I'm not gonna dictate how I expect the market to play out every single moment as this process goes, right? But for example, I can tell you, I can easily see Nvidia trying to close this gap as a short-term thing, and also bring us coincidentally to that 97.40. You see, so you always, not always, but oftentimes you will find these several forces that are bringing the market to a particular level. It's not going to be just one force, it's going to be the amalgam of several forces. Okay, so as you can see, there's this gap, a hole that needs to be filled, and I have my assessment through how I see the larger time frame pushing downwards, us dropping to this area. At least show the shorter time perception for you. Okay. Let's look at Tesla. Let's look at what's going on. So Tesla, it's pretty evident. I'm not going to repeat that. I've said this before. It's that 213, a very strong support or resistance, depending on how you want to look at it. We've been dancing around this support and resistance for a long time. Hello. Yeah, Joker, I hope that helped you. I hope that sort of given you some answers and perceptions on what I expect. Yeah, so right now we're probably going to test the 213, right? Especially closing this tiny little gap. So uncoincidentally, we're still having a whole, the market looks like Swiss cheese. This is so abnormal, but us going downwards will allow us to close some gaps, at least for the time being, which will basically leave less chores for the future, as weird as it sounds, but that's kind of almost going to be analogous to how the bots perceive it. Now let's bring back the indicators. Again, indicators are 4 hours bullish, so we might get that correction back to that resistance, back to that trend line, right? Again, not going to be biased, might as well. In fact, if we're going to get all the way here, it's not going to be that weird to see the market sort of get attracted to close the whole gap, although that's going to be a little bit of a stretch, and we're probably going to be squeezing the bejesus out of the momentum we have, basically just squeezing the market, so to speak, to get it done, and afterwards a rather rapid correction downwards and another breakdown. It could happen. How likely is it? Not that much. Looking at momentum 4 hours, it looks very probable. Looking at daily, again, somewhere it's sketchy. Those who understand that we're amplified being in the oversold territory, it's unlikely for us to start turning over right now. We're basically going to spend some time, hence, in fact, probably push below that 213, below that level you can see right here, right? That level, it's kind of again, a combination of several forces, several supports and resistances. But the scariest bit, I guess, is kind of evident, and something I mentioned that other day when I was doing the video, is how basically we're starting to flip over and get bearish momentum, and we just getting started. Like, I know you guys think, well, we probably squeezed most of that bearish redness that we were, about to have, that Greg was talking. No, we're just kind of getting started. So, and if you want to look at where the volume resides, where the strongest sort of attraction is going to be, is around these levels. You can see these levels, right? If you're going to look right here on the right side, those are the price levels that I'm hovering at. That's 180, 170. So it's even below that 200 levels, but 200 being that strong support as is. We're probably going to stumble upon it, get stuck. I know my charts are very messy. There are plenty of forces here sort of drawn on. We're also going to have to break through this diagonal resistance in this instance, support, sorry. The combination of these two, we're going to have a rather stronger resistance right here, 196, 195. So ahead of us, we have almost this process of stepping stones down towards that 150 that I've projected some time ago. Of course, it's not going to be linear. It's going to be a rather tedious process. Again, we have this rather strong support at 165-ish area. You can see it right here. Here it is, 165.63 to be really precise. And in fact, a sort of combination of forces there. We have that 165, 63, yeah, a combination of forces. So inevitably, I think we're gonna it's gonna take a while. It's not gonna be a process that we're gonna do overnight or over a weekend. It's gonna be a rather tedious process. But right now, I can say with far stronger confidence that we're gonna retest that 150, 160 area, and if everything is fine, we're gonna break below this. What was gonna hold us at 150 is gonna be this support, right? This diagonal force, and we will break below it and eventually end up slipping to this, right? This support that we have below from our diagonal channel. That is about Tesla. That is about Tesla. Again, there are, if we're going to look at the monthly, it sort of flips over, but it's a bit convoluted because, well, you cannot avoid what the weekly is showing you. Even though if it's going to take several weeks, which is roughly a month, the monthly is going to turn over by then. What people don't realize is that same thing that I've mentioned earlier, similarly to how we had here the trend not reach full maturity and break down. Same here, we're not going to get full maturity. We're going to break down. Basically, in essence, what we're having here is singular wave into that oversold territory. It's just that we have not completed it fully from this sort of point of view, from that in that duration, if you will. That is Tesla. So still downside with all. I know it's disappointing for some of you who are very bullish and probably hate on me, and it's scary, and I've heard all sorts of things in the Discord. Guys, I'm not bearish. I'm more bullish overall on the overall market. Tesla in general, those who know, I do believe Tesla is literally a staple part and an integral part of how the future is going to look like. But I also am realistic, and I'm looking at the charts, and what I see is what I convey. TC, it's how lower will it drop? Look, and if I look on the overarching trend, the way, I can't even show you these things here. It's just going to take forever. You need to understand exactly what I'm showing, and those are really advanced tools. It seems like we are going to revisit 100. I cannot say with certainty we're going to see $100. That's why you haven't seen, a video with a thumbnail, $100 Tesla, right? Because it's that much over the horizon that I cannot say that with certainty. But I do see that as a very possibility. Like, really, it is quite possible. How soon? It will take a while. It really does depend on the indices, right? What we've seen today, again, is a new gap that we potentially might want to close tomorrow, right? So we don't know yet. The way the momentum with this works is far more overarching, and it's the indices almost just flip over, almost as if you open 3 dams all together, and eventually at some point just becomes an unstoppable force. So for right now, what we've seen is all in all is 4.7%, I think. So not even an official crash. Not an, what is that? 4.4% on the correction. So all in all, it's kind of nothing yet. More so, I would say that's rather suspicious, and I would find it very surprising if, and I don't have all the supports and potential resistances laid out on this chart, but what I do have is the more important ones. And I don't see the price action just kind of stopping midway here for no good reason, with momentum being posted the way it is and just starting to move upwards. I just don't see that. If anything, I see a continuation of this to the downside, a proper reversal. In fact, we might dwell on the downside for a while, meaning accelerating even the same way we did on the uptrend, right, when we had the bullish momentum. So this is just getting started. Looking at 5,427, this is just the beginning. All in all, if I have to be objective about this, my perception is going to be that we're going to retrace as a first measurement. We're probably going to get stuck with this, right? With this shorter term trend, the median of it rather. Then we have a couple of gaps to close. This is a gap we have. What else? We have a very narrow channel of gaps here that need to be closed, I see. And then subsequently, we also have the bottom of the channel. Here it is, that blue line right here, the diagonal. So we're probably going to be doing something akin to testing this again, it's not going to be that prolonged. Don't look at the time frame. I'm just kind of drawing it stretched out so you can see what I mean. Finishing this process, getting entangled, testing this all area, gaps pretty quick. So in essence, I see us dropping to 5,000, 80, 60, 70, 50, kind of that area, call it that, right? Because it can vary. It's not going to be a particular number. In fact, we can slide below. And then subsequently, us being here, momentum still being pointed downwards, because that, to me, from my experience, is more than enough to make it to the median. This transition between, if you can see here, it's green, here it's red, right? You see that median right here, which is in essence, given the period of time, I would say about 4,970, 4,990-ish, kind of that area. So that's my perception. I think we're going to see something. We're going to see this area tested quite severely. Yes, it's going to take a while. It might take a couple of weeks. It might take even a month. It might even take a month and a half. But this is how I see this for now. What else? What else? What else? Those who know, we've done a lot of interesting stuff with the firm. Those who remember when it was bonkers and everybody was saying, no, you know, that the financial sector is going to be doing well. All these sort of stocks are going to be doing well. And I said, well, we're going to go for a deep correction. Those of you who know, we are $6 away from my target going back down, and we were in the 50s, in the 54 area. Arnon here can vouch. Definitely, he knows about that one. Still too early to look at it. Of course, there's a lot of downside to be had here before we start considering this as a buy. Right now, we're still observing it. But as it stands, again, I expect it to, where was it? Here it is. The trend that we're moving within right now, so this medium-term one, haven't even finalized yet, so we still have a long way to go. Okay, as you can see, we have somewhat of ways to go downwards. Pltr, same problem, sadly. I would say that we're having basically in essence the same problem. Here it is. You can see already on the downtrend daily, so it's somewhat shorter. Pardon me for the super dirty, messy chart. But yeah, here it is. So we broke through that 27.50, and my next area of support would be that 25.46. We are kind of breaking through a couple of channels. I know it's hard to see, but there's a channel right here, if you can see it, right? Transition between that blue and a red channel there. Basically, this is going to be that median, so I'm expecting 26, 20-ish, basically the low 20s, 26, as you can see already in the post-market, we're at 26.31. And the really sort of strong area that will hold us in that vicinity, going to be tested, to be more precise and more clear, is going to be that 26, 25.99. Let's just call it 26, 25.70 here, and we have 25.46. Since it's a combination of these supports and resistances, this area is we're gonna get entangled, test it a couple of times, and only then continue. Next one would be 24.50. Okay, and that's sort of next juncture of a couple of supports and resistances. Gap, not really interesting. 23. But what I'm really looking at, the really strong support that we're probably going to be falling onto once we break all these channels. Well, we're not probably not going to break through this channel, but later on we will. I'm expecting these levels, which in essence is 22.68 or 22.22, because again, you see a combination of supports and resistances. Okay, and these are not just supports and resistances; those are rather strong supports and resistances, because when they come together in a particular range, they amplify the volume, right? Literally the force that is necessary by the market to be applied to break through them, right? Or in contrary, finding support on them. Okay, so these are difficult areas. These require the market to work hard, in simple terms. Daily, weekly. Okay, so as I said, haven't even started yet. The ugly stuff is, people, again, this is not financial advice. Anybody and everybody should be doing whatever they think is right. But the way I see this, the pain haven't even started yet. Everybody's already moaning and preparing for a correction or whatever. Guys, the shit haven't hit the fan yet proper. We're just kind of in slow-mo observing the shit flying towards the fan, right? So and I'm not, this is, again, as I said, it's not financial advice. You do you. I'm just telling you what I see. I'm not applying any biases. My biases happen sort of, so to speak, after I see what I see, and only then I apply my positions. Those who know, I have an SQQQ position. It's I have 1,500 shares of it, and and my average right now is somewhere in the 14s and low 14s. Actually, I'm probably gonna be buying more. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else important to know? Yeah, that's it. Barnon, see you. Um, yeah, that is it. So that's my perception. The SQQQ, which by the way did today 10%. Those of you who don't know, here it is. It's kind of the only one thing that was doing well. As you can see, everything is deep red, other than oil and gold was there for a couple of seconds. So the only one thing that did well, and I was talking about these things, guys, as you know, in the Zoom calls, 10.76%, and it's not something you should be sort of. It's not a thing you trade, gamble. It's more of an insurance. You buy when it's low and just wait for shit to go bad, and then it's going to be that hedge that works for you, right? And whenever you execute this, you can actually disperse your returns from this into your overall portfolio, whichever you think is right, whatever you prefer to invest in, whatever you find more cheap or more attractive. So this is quite a good hedge, if you ask my opinion. This is what I do. That's it, ladies and gents. I don't know what else you want to know, what else you want to see. It all is kind of the same. I hate to say this, but this is almost like an "I told you so" kind of video, in essence, in some way. But I have told you so. I warned you in advance, far in advance, and it doesn't mean that said Greg was right, and from here on out it's going to be down. The market can be sort of irrational far longer than we can remain solvent, right? If you remember that quote. So yeah, that's what I see, ladies and gents. Appreciate everyone who showed up for this live. I really wanted to do one a bit earlier today, but I decided I'm going to wait for everybody to be more available, so more people will be able to watch it. Hello, the real Mike. How are you? Sector rotation today looks very risk off, not just liquidation. Recession thoughts. We're in recession. I mean, I've been talking about it, for a while. Look, you have to look at the job market. You have to look at inflation. You have to understand that companies have incentives, they have subsidies in order to have open positions, so to recover the economy. But if you're having these subsidies, how quickly would you want to hire into these positions? So these positions are just for show. So your hiring is not really doing well. Salaries are still, at least salaries are, well, you need to understand that the idea of to stifle inflation, how do you stifle inflation? You cannot give salary hikes. So in other words, the average public is required to suffer, because if you give salary hikes, what's going to happen? You will be able to sustain this prolonged pain, and well, inflation as it is going to become normality, and that 2% talk is going to become all bullshit. Let alone we understand that inflation right now, if when you go to the store, it's not 3%. It's and all the time everybody's keep on talking about inflation, how bad inflation is. Nobody's talking about shrinkflation, the fact that even if you will buy the same products, although you will pay almost 4 times the price to get the same products, when you're going to look at what you actually got, what it's worth in calories, you're going to realize that it's like a third less, basically. So, and it's not like, well, now you can eat a third less. Your body still requires, that amount of food, right? It is very complicated. It's very complex. So the current situation, again, oil is very high still. People are, well, it's dropped from 80. Sure, it dropped from 80. 77 is still a stupid number. And normally, in normal conditions, we would still say 70. At 70 anyway. Again, under 77. And commodity traders would be saying, sell oil because we're crossing the 70 area, because that's where it starts to cut into the profit margins of companies, in essence. So at 80, it's not a question of whether you can do 100 reps with or 10 reps, let's say, with 100 kilos. No, I'm going to ask you to stretch your arm and hold only 10. The question is, how long can you hold on, right? That's sort of the real question. And we can sustain inflation until we run out of savings, until our debts become too big, which we know America right now is basically drowning in debt. People who went into the whole situation, I'm not going to mention, but you remember the whole mask situation and all that. So YouTube will not punish me. But people were using savings. These same people, not everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people right now are basically, surviving month to month from, from the hand to the mouth, so to speak, directly, and some are actually in debt. And would you really expect to see people normally buying groceries, with buy now pay later services when that's normal, when that's normality? More so, you have to consider the bullish narrative, right? And you got to give it to Tom, because he warned you guys. He told you openly this stuff can happen. His system, essentially, in essence, makes you invulnerable to this. It's designed for you not to care. But in reality, very few people cannot not care, right? So you are going to experience this. It is almost impossible for you to feel the pain that is going to happen. But if you can stay more resilient, psychologically resilient, if you will, DCA when the time is right, not just DCA like crazy, right? Because today the market is slightly lower. Learn the right skills, do the right research, hang out more in the community. Yeah, listen more. You will be able to probably know when it's better to do that. That's kind of the trick. No one says DCA just at any given time. Tom says that all the time. Guys, look at the 52-week high. Look. There are various ways to consider what is the right time. Look at the average price. Various approaches to how you can determine what is whether the price is right now elevated or not, whether you should be buying in or should be waiting. More so, those of you who know, I teach in the community technical analysis, and those of you who are here from the public, by the way, guys, one spot left. One spot. If it's not going to be taken, I'm going to give it to the members because they're dying for these spots. And I teach how to do this proper analysis, not just this what I'm presenting here, but the more advanced stuff. Feel free to reach out. Those who just want to advance and progress to that. Those who don't know, by the way, our private Discord server and our public, they're kind of all together in the same place. You have a link in the to the Patreon on the bottom in the description. You can join. You get a lot more. You get Zoom calls. You get giveaways. Lots of good stuff that we do. If it's literally a lot of good stuff that we do. I don't want to mention it here, but definitely you can take a look and enjoy all that stuff. We don't give signals. Today we had somebody ask us about signals. Shout out to the community. Well, Mike, what's up? Is that just... double miss. I didn't see. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't check yet. I will take a look though. Can discuss that in the Discord because I'm about to jump off soon. Any other questions, guys? All right. Ladies and gents, you have a wonderful rest of the week. I cannot lie to you and say, I hope everything's going to be fine. I just hope that you will have the resilience and mental strength that is necessary to go through this period that we're about to have and make the right decisions. That's all I can wish you guys. And again, talk to us in the community. We're there most of the day, especially when we can. And I have to run because I have a session soon. Ladies and gents, have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye. Don't forget to smash like, subscribe, bell, all that stuff. Bye-bye.